Welcome to Navigating Cancer. I'm Wendy Hall from the Robert Boisnot Oncology Institute, and we are so glad that you're joining us here today. We have a wonderful lady that you're going to hear about, and we're going to share a lot of good information. I'd like to introduce to you Gail Kostelnick, and Gail and I met at my office. Right away we had a great rapport. She's an RN and a nurse and an endoscopy nurse. Meaning what? Tell the people at home what field that is of nursing.
That's the field where you do all kinds of endoscopies, upper, lower. You can look in the lungs. Any place that an endoscope can go, that's what we did. Okay. And so it's no secret, you said that you ended up being treated. And we wanted to talk today about colonoscopies, about prevention, about a lot of different things, maybe your story, and you've got some good tips that we're going to be sharing. So you want to just start by just saying what would be on your mind to talk about to start with? Well, speaking from a nurse perspective and also a patient, naturally, when you think that something's wrong, if you're having any bleeding or any problems, the first thing is you're scared to death. And so, and I was no different than anyone else just because I'm a nurse. But you do have to go get it checked out. And I'm finding that there's a lot of people who have said, oh, it's just a hemorrhoid, or I'm not going to worry about it. And then that's when they get into trouble. So they do need to get it checked out. And I know a lot of people are just worried about having a colonoscopy, but there's really nothing to it.
I have to say, I have to tell you honestly that when I tried my first time around of a colonoscopy, I flunked out, and it's very embarrassing to say, but I couldn't do the prep. And knowing that you were coming on today, I said to myself, I've got to get scheduled before then. So I'm set up again. And I mean, really, the prep a lot of people talk about is the worst part. Most people say that the rest of it is, over like that. But and being your own advocate, because after I wasn't successful in getting all the stuff down that you're supposed to, everything just kind of dropped, and I never heard back from the office, and I never followed up because I just wasn't, I didn't end up being able to do it, and I didn't know what to do. And then I met Gail, and Gail gave me other suggestions, but being our own advocate, when something's wrong, like you mentioned, or when you just know that you need the routine tests, we have to follow through. So now, were you one that, you're probably not 50 yet, but I mean, were you one that had ever had colonoscopies?
Actually, I have had one in the past, yeah. And the insurance company basically recommends every 10 years if the first one is okay. Now, if someone does have a history of colon cancer in their family, it's recommended that they start at age 40. So that's certainly significant to keep that in mind. But, there's more than one way to skin a cat with that prep. Each doctor has their own preference, but, clean is clean, and there's different ways, because certain of those preps really create a lot of problem. I've heard it described as salty fish water. Yeah. And some people just cannot tolerate the taste or the amount. My doctor has a recipe that he uses, and I found it very tolerable.
And she shared it with me, so next time, yeah.
Absolutely. It really wasn't bad, and I calculated out exactly how much I had to drink per hour, so I wasn't at the last half hour trying to chug it, and I think a lot of people fall into that, and then they're in a panic and then they get sick trying to swallow too much at once.
Yeah. So you'd had a colonoscopy at some point early on, but then you started to have some symptoms somewhere, I don't know, years down the road or whatever, that you tried to get right on top of.
Well, actually, I had already had my colonoscopy scheduled because I just decided, well, I'll go ahead and do it this year, because we were trying to actually accumulate all our expenses, because we're going to itemize this year. We know we'll have enough to itemize. So I said, I'll just go ahead and do it. It's a couple years early. Actually, I had a couple little symptoms the week before. It's like someone was sticking me with a pin. And it was just bothersome enough, but easily someone could have said, "Oh, that's nothing."
Right.
And bingo, that was exactly right where my tumor was.
Really?
Yeah, very subtle. I had no bleeding, no other real changes, but that was it.
You know, it's women's intuition. We know our body, and you got that set up to get the colonoscopy. So did they tell you that there was a concern right away, or did you have appointments in the near future?
Well, being an endoscopy nurse, when he told me I had a flat polyp, I knew that wasn't a good sign. But the nurses were very reassuring and said, you know, it's treatable. So I waited and waited for the biopsy. It took them a little while. And then I did get the bad news in June. And I immediately looked for what to do next. And of course, my doctor was wonderful and sent me over to see the doctor that was, this is in Brooksville, so he sent me right over, got me right over to see an oncologist. I did make sure I had second opinions for everything.
Good idea.
And then basically what you do is you just go through the process of developing the treatment plan, how you're going to handle this. And being a nurse, I did an awful lot of research. I was on the computer forever.
You know, a lot of people do, and they don't have the knowledge of the medical background, so they sometimes get, it's not good for them, you know, but a lot of people do that nowadays. Yeah,
because you can get a lot of different things on the internet, things that really are not factual. So, and you also have to remember that a lot of times when people post things, they're posting their negative experience.
Right.
And so
they're frustrated. It's not their best moments.
Exactly, exactly. And there are some positives to having cancer, actually, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I lost 17 pounds.
Well, you're gorgeous, so I don't know what else to say about that.
Well, I could not have worn this outfit in June, let me tell you.
Oh my gosh. And I know that along the way of your treatment plan, as you said, it's important to get the right treatment plan. You use some tips, and we're going to come back after the break, and maybe you could talk about some of the things that you did that were, you know, effective in helping you stay organized and maximizing your doctor visits and all of that, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay, all right. So we will come right back after the break.